Hey y'all. So I have been getting questions about if my presentation was recorded. And it was not because we're students and this is all of our independent research. And so, recording it and putting it out there probably wouldn't have been the best for us as academics and scholars to protect us. But I wanted to create a video because I only had 8 minutes. I had 10 minutes, but I thought I had 8 minutes. But I only had 10 minutes to present all of this information, right? Definitely was not able to give it the explanation, the passion around it within those 10 minutes. So I figured I would do a video and I will walk through my project, my research. Again, this is all independent research. This is my personal research. I did all this work. So let's get started. And I'm going to be looking down because I have it on my iPad as well. I'm not wearing my glasses right now. So my project was race impact on women's health experiences. And actually, this is perfect because I want to walk through what my intentional and initial research project was supposed to be. And so I was doing a secondary data analysis. So let's talk about secondary data. Secondary data is the data that's already been collected. These are surveys, responses, these are things that is already out there in the data space. And secondary data is very easy to get research approved on because there's no human subjects involved and they remove all of the identifiers of the people that answer the survey's questions. So you really don't have any issue with IRB getting your research study approved because you don't have the ethical um, pieces that you have to go through and prove that this is an ethical and safe study. But for secondary data, you're just looking at numbers and words on a screen. So I did this because one my mentor, she suggested it and it made sense because I'm like, yes, I'm trying to be done. But then also I'm like, she probably trying to be done too. So I go with it. I go with everything. I work smarter, not harder. And so um, the goal was to highlight the difference between how black women are experiencing the healthcare system versus how white women are experiencing the healthcare system. And because of all the discrepancies, the not displacement, but the inequities. There we go. The inequities amongst the medical system and even just women's health. Period. It needs to be known that this stuff is already here. Like we're I feel like we're in a state and we're in a position where we want to keep investigating, want to keep investigating. Like, oh my God, this is what's happening, what's happening, what's happening. But it's already happening. Like it already has been happening. And I think the part of women's health that frustrates me, and especially when it comes to black women, is we wait until things are traumatic, are intense, and then we like, oh wait, let's see if we can fix this or let's see if we can save this situation instead of being proactive from the start. And so initially it was supposed to be about women with MS. We don't have enough data on women with MS and particularly black women with MS, right? To do this type of study. And the type of study that I needed the study to be large enough that I can prove that I can do certain epidemiological statistic testings and modeling and all that. So I'm like, okay, let's go straight to women's health because I know that women's health is collected frequently, often, all the time. So, and women are most likely to participate in surveys, utilize the healthcare system. So we have a lot of data on women. And I want to just go over my project, go over my poster, disregard the typos because I can see some typos already. I did this, yeah, it was in the semester, whatever. But if you do want my full paper, if you want to read my full paper, let me know. And I can send you some snippets of my paper, or again, if you are a scholar, and promise not to copyright my stuff. You can see my paper, but yeah, my paper. So, and I am planning on publishing this research as well. So bear with me as I prepare to do this and keep going as a researcher. This is new to me and it's exciting, but definitely didn't think I was going to be a researcher like at this extent. So let's start with the historical background. One of the things that I wanted to highlight off rip was what was the historical context of women's health experiences. We're talking about inequities, we're talking about discrepancies, we're talking about different things that just don't seem right that black women are experiencing, but white women may be experiencing, but black women are experiencing at a much, much higher rate. And so when we talk about the historical background, as public health professionals, as medical professionals, anybody that's doing anything with healthcare, and then you start talking about the women's health field, you are going to know about J. Marion Sims. J. Marion Sims was the gynecologist who is the father of gynecology because he was this person that created all these great tactics and ways that we can try to figure out how can these women stop having such pain while giving birth and all these different things. But we don't talk about the mothers of gynecology. The mothers of gynecology was three enslaved women that he did these procedures on repeatedly. No anesthesia, no, and anesthesia was accessible at the time. No anesthesia, and he tried these practices on black enslaved women before trying it on white women. These unethical practices used on enslaved women to build the gynecology field is ridiculous. And then we fast forward to 2026, black women are experiencing high rates of black maternal mortality. If we are the people that you have used to perfect your practices, why is these practices failing us in 2026? How? Or why? So the purpose of my study was to explore potential relationships between race and women's healthcare experiences, and again, from a secondary data set. The study sits at the intersection of race, gender, and healthcare. This study centers black women. The intersection of race, gender, and healthcare. I don't think we sit at this intersection enough to really understand, like even just doing this research and just kind of briefly looking at some of the cases that have been happening with women dying after childbirth. These are all blood related issues. These are all hemorrhaging related issues. And I understand these issues because I have my own experience of hemorrhaging out and literally about to lose my life, and they kept saying, "Oh, you're just having a bad period." Whereas I talk to my white counterparts and they don't have these experiences. But then when I talk to my black peers, they have these experiences. What is happening at this intersection that is being missed or just not being taken care of? And then this study centered black women. So black women was my reference group. Black women was the reference group. They was the group that everything got tested against because the goal was to highlight the inequities amongst the black women population. And you can't really see those inequities so largely unless you are putting black women as the reference group and everything is being tested against that group of people. And so I had 3 research questions. How does race impact health experiences among women? Just a blanket, is race impacting your experience as a woman? How does chronic conditions affect women differently by race? Do they? So this is where my basis of my MS research in the future is going to sit here, because now I can see that there is some discrepancies between women with different races and different conditions. And we're going to talk about these in a minute. Does race impact health utilization among women with certain chronic conditions? Utilizing the healthcare system, and I'll be 100% honest, I delay my doctor's appointments, especially after I had that experience almost, so it'll be almost 2 years now. Almost 2 years now. I think I went to all of my necessary appointments that I needed to have after like the follow up, but like I haven't went to no appointment since then, like to just regularly, because the trauma behind, y'all gave me one pill and it almost killed me. And then the fight that I had to fight for to be heard, and for me to tell them like something is wrong, this is not okay, and I'm bleeding out and my hemoglobin gets to 6. This is crazy, right? But then when I speak to other black women and they have similar experiences, it's like, what? So yeah. The goal is to spark conversations around how to interpret secondary data from a race and equity lens while centering marginalized groups. We have to have a lens when we're looking at the secondary data, because it will look as if, oh, well, this is just the norm. No, we can't normalize this. Just because this is what's happening does not mean this is normal or that it should be happening. Like, the ethical space behind the medical field really concerns me. So we're going to move into materials and methods, and it's this section over here. I don't know if y'all can see. Let me see. I don't know if y'all can see my. Let me see. Do I do a laser pointer? So yeah, over here in this section. So I think you guys can zoom in. I don't know. Bear with me. If you do want this poster, it will be available on my social media after I post video and after I clean up my typos. Methods and materials. Oops. This again, secondary data came from National Health Interview Survey 2024. That was the last one once I started my research. That was full, and this is the largest and oldest national household health survey. So this is one of the surveys that they call and be like, hey, do you want to do a survey? Which I'm very interested to see how are we going to change that method, as a lot of people don't answer their phone, like for unknown numbers. I know I don't. I use SAS 9.4, so that was my statistical analysis tool, and I conducted my data analysis, and then I took the female specific subgroup from the NHIS, which was 17,644 women. My inclusions was if your survey response was female and adult, and exclusion if your survey response was male and you was a child. Then a little bit of statistical analysis for my epidemiologists and my nerds. So survey weighted SAS syntax. Do not forget that when you're doing SAS, when you're doing survey specific data, because they put survey weights in there to help with the They put survey weights in there to help with the, the missing and the different inequities. And again, I'll go through all of these. My covariance, so why am I going blank? My covariance, what are those? My covariance, my predictors. So covariance equals predictor. It was race, healthcare utilization, and poverty ratio. I did a chi-square test to get the odds ratio of women-specific cancers and health conditions, and then I did a chi-square test again for the odds of healthcare utilization between Black and white women, and then I did a logistic regression model for healthcare utilization relationships. And at that bottom up, and this actually is not the my updated um yeah, this is not my updated one. So yeah, so y'all gonna get this because I'm not starting this video over. I'm 16 minutes in. Y'all gonna get this video. And then the right, uh, my right poster will be posted with the video. Cause like I said, I'm not reading off of this. I'm not reading off of that. I'm reading off of what I have here. So, let's see what else. So let's go to the study results, the key study results. Like most of this stuff is about the same. It's just my methods. This area over here is going to be a little bit different, but all of this stuff is the same still. So key study results. So these were the key results that I got from my study. Image 1 is the percentage differences in breast cancer, hypertension, ovarian cancer between non-Hispanic white and Black women. And again, this was out of the 17,644 female participants. So one of the first inequities of this survey that I had to make sure I referenced was that the Black women group of the survey was very, very small. Only 12%, whereas white women were the 60%. So again, it made so much sense for me to put Black women as the reference group because we need to compare to the small group, this big group. And as we go down, so for breast cancer, white women had a 50% lower odds of having breast cancer. Black women have a 20% higher odds of having breast cancer. White women had a 58% lower odds of having hypertension. Black women had a 42% higher odds of having hypertension. White women have 142% increased odds of having ovarian cancer, whereas Black women have 59% lower odds of having ovarian cancer. And then when we go to this table, my pretty green table, this was the table that was adjusted for odds ratio, survey weighted logistic regression models, wellness visits, emergency room utilization among non-Hispanic Black and white women, female participants. Black women served as the reference group. The models were adjusted for the 3 health conditions that I covered in here, which was breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and hypertension. So just looking at this table, and I'll tell you guys what you're reading, what you're looking at. And basically the p-value is, so the p-value, which is those values that are in this column, tells us the significance. Our confidence interval tells us the width. And if the confidence if one falls within here, it shows significance, which race was significant amongst was a significant predictor amongst all of the health conditions when we talked about wellness visits. Race was not significant when we talked about ER visits. When we talked about ER visits as different conditions, like race was just kind of the same. Like Black women utilized the ER regardless of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, hypertension. And I'm gonna just, if my epidemiology, my stats, my biostats people, my public health people, if y'all want to go over this table together, we can go over that table. But I'm going to leave that there for time. So finally, discussions and inclusions. Um, inclusions. I don't know what I'm talking about because, yeah, I don't know where I have so many different, I have so many different ones. And honestly, this is the right one that is on the screen is the right one. I was on the wrong one. I really need to start deleting stuff after I finish it. Okay, let's get through this video. We done hit 20 minutes, so I should be done in the next 5. Despite being 12% of, so here's my conclusions, my discussion about the inclusion, my conclusions. Why do I want to say inclusion so much? Despite being 12% of the sample, Black women's health burden is disproportionately elevated, which can reflect structural inequity. Healthcare utilization paradox was created within my study. Black women have higher disease burden, higher wellness engagement, but lower emergency care utilization. White women have lower disease burden, lower wellness engagement, but higher emergency care utilization. Black women, higher odds in hypertension and breast cancer. White women have higher odds in ovarian cancer. Poverty ratio was not significant. Race predicts cancer burden independently of income. And this was one of the things that really hurts my feelings because I was told as a Black woman holding a master's degree, making a certain amount of money, I still have the same health outcomes of a white woman who has probably not even her GED. I'll let y'all sit with that. Race is significant in wellness visit models, chronic conditions odds. Race is not significant in ER utilization models. Remember, there wasn't no significant difference in ER utilization significance, but Black women utilize the healthcare, utilize the ER less. So again, this becomes stuff of critical thinking, conversations that we just need to kind of look deeper into instead of just saying, well, Black women, race was not significant, so let's move on. No. Why is it? Look into it. Dig deeper. We're scientists. Go deep. Um, Black women's health burden may be structural versus behavioral. Addressing disparities may require structural transformation, not individual intervention. So 3 public health implications, things that we can do in the future. Screen earlier and more aggressively for Black women, especially when it comes to hypertension and breast cancer. Remove structural barriers to emergency care when it comes to Black women, meaning when we go to the ER, I should not have to have a Black OBGYN come down and tell y'all, why am I still in the ER? Why have I not been admitted? And why do I not have no blood? Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm not in a rush to go to nobody ER anymore after that experience. Y'all was literally gonna make me die. Like, y'all was gonna let me die in the ER. And finally, name structural racism as a public health target. These are racist systems, structures. We have to dismantle them if we want better outcomes. So what were some limitations of my study as I finish up? Secondary data, we don't know if people are being honest, truthful. We don't know what the researcher is saying on the other end. It's just a whole bunch. And then it's self-reported. So again, we don't know if people are being honest or truthful. Small subgroup samples. So again, Black women were only 12%. So that skews especially when you start doing statistical analysis, it skews some of your numbers. And I had some missing predictors like age, BMI, and education. Those could have been, if I had more time, would have been things I would have kept looking deeper into because of, since that poverty ratio didn't matter, what other factors would have been impactful. And then I did logistic regression models. When you're doing statistical analysis, at any level, you can have some error based on these models, these statistical models. But overall, I was able to show, based off of secondary data, that these inequities exist. When you start running this data, when you start doing this data, and when you start doing this research, it exists. So, what are we going to do next? And this was my project. And if you guys watch this, thank you so much, because I was so sad that I only had 10 minutes to do this, and this gave me an extra 15 just to give a little bit more details and context on why I want to do this and what I learned. So I will see y'all in our next video. Bye.